the wisdom of generations of women to help you have more joy every day. The Wisdom Coalition program begins right now.
I think the elephant in the living room, the skunk at the luncheon, is that women undermine other women.
I think courage is a huge piece of women moving forward in whatever they're trying to pursue.
I have to decide for myself that I will not be limited by anything, and that includes sexism and racism.
You still always want to make the best of whatever situation that you have, and you should never think it's too late or I've done these errors and I can't come back from it. You always can. You can always make better decisions starting right now, starting today.
It's a historic time for women to be their very best. Join us for a special edition of the Wisdom Coalition program for a discussion about what holds women back and how they can move forward with success and confidence. Our backdrop is the stunning Women of Vision exhibit at the Allentown Art Museum, symbolizing a world of opportunities for women everywhere.
This special program has been brought to you by Evans Wealth Strategies in Emmaus, working to bring you financial happiness.
Thank you for joining us for this special edition of the Wisdom Coalition program. I'm Nancy Wertine.
And I'm Kim Howie. We're coming to you from inside the Women of Vision exhibit at the Allentown Art Museum.
This is a collection of stunning photographs from 11 women journalists from National Geographic that tell stories of courage and hope.
And reminds us to stop and look at where we are and where we can be.
Ask yourself, what if? What if a woman did get elected into the White House? What if we never needed the Me Too campaign? What if women didn't feel the need to rally across the country? History shows us there are pivotal times when change is imminent. What if this is one of those times? Studies show women make up half the workforce, control between 70 and 80% of consumer purchasing, yet 4 out of 5 women have low self-esteem. Women-on-women bullying has increased 9% in the last 10 years, and many women say they don't apply for jobs because they're afraid to fail. What if they weren't? What if this is the best time for all women to move forward with strength and confidence? We want to talk about the how. How can we be our very best?
And at the Wisdom Coalition, we believe as women that we're stronger when we work together and that we all have wisdom to share with one another.
Along with our distinguished panel and our studio audience, we're going to explore the how to take the next step in the most successful direction, of course, recognizing that success means different things to different people.
So let's meet our panel now.
First we have Caroline Adams Miller is a nationally known public speaker, author of 7 books. Her most recent, Getting Grit, looks at why grit is so important for a flourishing life. Ann Baum is Vice President, Lehigh Valley Capital Blue Cross, and also sits on a number of boards and executive committees. Lindsay Watson is co-founder of FIA NYC Employment Services. A former Wall Street executive, Ms. Watson has more than 12 years experience providing human resources within several Fortune 500 companies. And Mary Evans is owner of Evans Wealth Strategies in Emmaus. She is a certified financial planner with 35 years of financial experience, including 25 years in corporate finance. Thanks for joining us, ladies. Let's start with you, Caroline. You know, we see a lot of things that indicate positive steps for women, but what is it right now, do you think, that's holding women back?
Thank you. Great question. I think the elephant in the living room, the skunk at the luncheon, is that women undermine other women. And I've seen so much of it that I haven't really spoken about until recently because it got to me. This is an amazing time. I think we all feel it in our bones, that women have opportunities to really move forward in new, powerful ways. And the hashtag #MeToo movement, Time's Up, all of these things are important. However, one thing I've noticed that I think we really have to address and change is the fact that women do undermine and bully other women. Women are the primary bullies in the workplace. So how do we deal with this? I've been to conferences and I've been to salons where everybody shares their, wow, it was women who undermined me. It was women personally and professionally. I've come up with the hashtag share 2 to 2 idea because I think like Emily's List helps promote females running for political office. I think we have to train ourselves to override jealousy fear, anger, whatever it is that motivates us to undermine other women. We may not know, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that we train ourselves to automatically celebrate another woman's success with her own personal goals, not her children, not her vacation, not her cup of coffee. It's something that she pursued with grit and passion. Let's lift her up on 2 social media channels. I just say pick 2. Pick 2 twice a week. And you know what? If they're not out there, easy to find, ask people to share their stories of success with you. And then make sure you automatically just share it.
That's so great. And Anne, how about you? What do you think is the most important thing that women can do right now to move forward the best way they can, both personally and professionally?
Well, I think women hesitate to have the courage to take a risk. And there was something mentioned earlier about the fear of failure. And I think often the fear of failure gets in the way of taking that risk and asking for that new job, trying something new. The fear of perfection and failure, it keeps people from doing things. And so I think the best way to move forward is to be brave and not be afraid to fail. You hear often fail faster. Well, the only way you learn is by making a mistake. And the faster you figure out what you can learn from a particular mistake, the sooner you can move forward. So I think courage is a huge piece of women moving forward in whatever they're trying to pursue.
And I think that we need each other to be courageous. And Lindsay, it's interesting to me, you've made it part of your portfolio almost to support other women. You did it for Kim and I when we started the Wisdom Coalition, when we didn't even know you and without being asked. Why do that? Why put yourself out to support other people, other women?
Well, I can honestly say that I stand on the shoulders of so many wonderful people in my life, men and women. My mom is a single mom and raised my sister and I in a community where no one looked like us. She had to fight to, one, make it for us financially, but also she had to fight to really establish a good name for our family that's now been in that same town for over 30 years. So she had to do a lot. My dad was one of the first African-American admirals in the United States Navy. And so what I learned from him in just having to watch how he stood and how he had to not only represent himself well, but then set a tone for the generations to come after him, I was able to take that in. I speak a lot about my business partner and my wonderful mentor, Bill Brown. He has been phenomenal, encouraging me to take those steps that seemed very scary, to go out to interview for those positions, and to position myself as someone who could walk in confidence. Even if I didn't have the confidence right away, I still put myself in a position to learn, right, to at least still go for it. And so I've learned that over the past 15 years, I've been on a quest to understand who I am as a woman. And so there are 3 things that I've learned that we as women really want to focus on: our strengths, our weaknesses, and our purpose. And I do believe that as we grow in confidence in ourselves, as we can feed off of one another, and this is why I always love to share, that we can be a better representation of who we are to other women. There are lots of us who deal with insecurities, and it can be scarier to have to address those than just to kind of conform to society and stay in the shadows. But now I feel as though there is like a war cry going on where it's time for us to stand up and face those fears, face those insecurities. And I promise you, facing them may feel scary, but it takes a lot less time to overcome those fears than it does to intentionally settle. And so what I'm hearing and I'm really feeling in the energy, especially here in this country, is that women are being bold enough now to want to step up and face those fears and to address them so that the generations after them will have a different tone set.
Oh, that's such a great point, such a great point. And Mary, studies show that fewer than 2 in 10 women feel very prepared to make wise financial decisions. And I know as president of Evans Wealth Strategies, you feel strongly that women should take control of their financial power. So why do you feel so strongly about that?
Well, I really feel strongly about that. You are correct. And I think when we talk about financial power, we have to understand what that is. And we have to understand why we need it. Part of the problem is there is an enormous amount of suffering that goes on in this country because of financial issues. So what do I mean by financial suffering? It's the #1 reason for divorce. How many sleepless nights, arguments, problems did you have because of money? And let's not even talk about the one-time items that might happen, that you have the death of a spouse, you have an unexpected divorce, there is a disability. These are all tremendously emotional times. they should not be financially hardship times either. And I don't think that most women understand what it means to take the power of finances. So I'll give you a little story. Don't worry, it's just a little story. But my dad was a terrific guy, and he was super handy, engineer-y type. And he built the house that we lived in. And I mean, he built the house. He did the framing, the siding, the roofing, the electrical, the plumbing. He did everything. And my mother was enormously grateful and so proud of the job that he did. But here's something my mother would never trust him about. He didn't design the house. He didn't decide how many bedrooms were going to be there, whether we're having a kitchen even, or where it's going to be, and how many garages. That was my mom and my dad together built that. And that is really what I'm talking about. You don't have to learn about stocks and bonds. If you do, that's great. I find it lots of fun. But it's the plan. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? And women think that money isn't nice. It is. A lot of the people who handle it might not be nice, but this is the things that buys your children's clothing. This is what sends your child to college. This is what allows you to help your parents. Get more interested in it. It's really a good idea. And once you have a plan and you understand where the plan is going, I trust you're going to feel better and you're going to sleep better at night as well. And less arguments. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. You know, Caroline, when you were talking earlier about women undermining other women, let's talk about how that makes women feel and how they could feel differently if that didn't take place.
You know, there's so much to say about this. First thing I want to say is most women are surrounded by frenemies. And this is a fact. 84% of women confess to being surrounded by friends who are really enemies. And there's one surefire way to know if someone should remain in your circle, and that is, how do they respond to your good news? How do they respond to your goals and dreams? So a researcher named Shelley Gable at UCLA has come up with the one way, and it's so easy to identify who's in and who's out. And it's, do they respond with curiosity and enthusiasm? And I think sometimes we have to train ourselves. If, you know, our sister, our sister-in-law, our mother, our friend, our cousin, our coworker, our rival has good news or a big plan, we need to train ourselves to be curious and enthusiastic. Tell me more, because it feels better. It feels better to be that person. And I think we as women have to not be small at times. We have to recognize we're not a monolithic block. Not every woman will want you to succeed. Open your eyes, wake up. You know, I think this is something that I feel, you know, people need to wake up in their own lives and realize they could be surrounded by people who are undermining them so significantly that they're not even going to get to first base. And that's critical. So you need dreams, you need plans, you need goals, but you need a mastermind group. You need a moai. In Japanese, the word is moai. It's a circle of women who pledge to have your back. We all need a moai. We need to create it, we need to sustain it, and we need to deal with it every month, at least.
That's such great advice.
Yeah.
And Anne, certainly, as Caroline is saying, and as studies show, as women, we need to back each other more, but we also need to doubt ourselves less. So how do you promote that in the workplace?
Well, I think it's really important when you're in a position where people might be looking to you for advice to always reach back and help people and be open to offering advice. And on the opposite side of that, it's fine to ask for advice. There's no possible way that anybody here in this room or anybody knows everything. You have to surround yourself with good advisors and strong partners and people where you can ask them questions, get advice, take that advice, and then build upon it. But I think we all have to be open to it. We have to be willing to help one another and be willing to give advice, but also ask for it when you need it.
And be self-confident.
Yes.
You know, and the studies show, research shows that in nearly all cultures, men have higher self-esteem than women. And the difference, they say, lies in the magnitude of the gap. That it's the gap that's most pronounced is in Western countries like the US. So, Lindsay, how do you think women can have more confidence in themselves?
I could talk all day.
Yeah, I know.
I know I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
I'll speak for me. I've learned to be very comfortable sharing my faults and my wins as well. The whole journey to confidence for me has been one of me having to decide that I am worthy, that I do have value, and that I don't need something from the outside before I can say I'm okay with me. And hopefully that doesn't sound much of a cliche, But I will say, growing up in a place where I was maybe one of 5 people who looked like me, I was about 5'10" by the time I was 13 or 14, so I was super tall, super young, in addition to just being awkward. I never really fit in. And so that didn't help with the confidence booster, okay? But what I had to decide, and really decide for me, is that it's okay for me to invest in myself, to feel confident, to walk confidently, even though if I didn't feel as though I was 100% there on the inside. I started with just making a decision that I am okay, that I am enough. And I believe that that confidence has become contagious. So you talked about that friendship circle. I have maybe a handful of friends that have been tested and proven. They've been there for me in my ups and my downs, and they've proven themselves to have integrity, to be honest, and to intentionally be for me. And that encouraged me to intentionally be there for them. Confidence to me is the same thing. If I'm walking into a room and I'm confident, it's going to rub off. The confidence will come back, and hopefully we'll be able to help each other build up and grow. So I hope that I answered your question.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Beautifully.
That was fabulous. Fabulous. Well, and Mary, research is showing that the number of women investing has grown 19% over the last 3 years. And during the same time frame, women have actually outperformed men in the marketplace. Yet when asked, they don't feel confident that they're as smart as men when it comes to the same money topic. So how can you help women gain confidence over their financial power?
Yeah, I could talk all day about this as well as you might imagine. Well, confidence comes with practice, as well. And it also comes as, a couple people mentioned, you need advice, you need a coach. If you were going to learn to play tennis, you would have somebody that would help you. And I think it's been very hard for women to find that help, even if they are doing the investing. And you need someone that's going to help you, walk you through this and walk you through it the right way for your goals. And, you want somebody that's going to trigger questions that you might not know. So, what is the best way to educate a child? What do you do if you have a long-term illness? So a good one will go through all of that. Here's what should not happen. Okay? If you are in with an advisor who's helping you with a financial plan, you should never feel judged. And I mean absolutely never. And everyone that comes in to see me thinks that's going to happen. And we always say, if you want us to judge you, we're going to charge you more, because it's a lot of work, So absolutely don't tolerate it. Another thing that should never happen is you should never be unheard. You're in that room. This plan is as much yours as anybody else's there. If someone is not looking at you and asking the questions and getting your input, again, wrong person. And one of my favorites is, you should never, ever be scolded. What is it about money and finance? It's insane. Do you ever watch, even on television, when they're talking about money and finance, the shows? Why does everybody seem so angry? I'm always very happy when I get some money. And my favorite thing that they tell people, I love the sentences that start with, you should have. That is singularly the dumbest thing that he's ever said, because should have doesn't, unless you have a time machine to take me back to correct my problems, that is not going to happen. And I know people have had this experience. And I know a lot of women mostly women have had this experience. And what they need to do is walk out, and if that's too scary for you in the middle of it, you wait to the end, and you thank the person very much for their time, but that you need to think about things for a while. And you will call them if you need help. And you just keep going. I know that you do this when you look for physicians or a hairdresser. Like, who here has not only gone to a hairdresser one time, right? And it's like, oh, thank you very much. And you're never coming back. It's the same thing when you're looking for this help. And, don't assume that, women assume that men know more about money because men love to talk about that. And women don't like to talk about it because they think it's not nice. And they have to get over that, and they have to make the connection. And you want to have the plan to know that you and your family are all right now and into the future. So it's worth it. Just keep finding someone till you find someone you like.
Yeah, it's good advice for life, too. Thank you so much, ladies. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to hear from our studio audience.
This special program has been brought to you by Evans Wealth Strategies in Emmaus, working to bring you financial happiness.
Welcome back. You know, study after study says that only by doing the very things that we're afraid of can we overcome those fears and act with confidence.
And you know, fear is a lot like joy, and that we have to make that active choice to manage that emotion with intention.
Yes, we do. We'd like to take a couple questions from our studio audience now. If the first question is ready.
Would you please address the concept of having frenemies or being undermined by women in the workplace? And what is a woman to do if she is indeed undermined by women around her?
Let's delve into that a little bit. Caroline, maybe you want to take that one.
You know, this is a problem we need to talk more about in very open ways. I think first we have to acknowledge it's happening. I also think that women do need to create this mastermind group, this group of people who are willing to support you. And one thing that happened in the Obama White House that I thought was brilliant was that women would go into meetings, and if they felt undermined or someone was taking their ideas, i.e. a man, they would agree ahead of time to reinforce, Mary said that, Joy said that, oh, that's a great idea. So they created this Moai ahead of time. This is how we're going to handle undermining ahead of time. But you have to be a solid group going into meetings like that. But you got to call it out too.
Great advice. Let's hear our next question now, please.
Mary, you spoke specifically about how to find a financial planner or advisor and what to do if you find yourself in their office and you feel that they may be judging you. My question is, what do you do when you've had a severely long-term relationship with an existing planner that now has started to exhibit some of those qualities? And though you may have answered some of those questions and concerns that they may have, they still come up, and it's one of those asked and answered, move on. How do you move from there?
That's a great question. And Mary, can you address that?
I can. You know, I think there was a song, you know, breaking up is hard to do. But, you know, sometimes if an advisor is just not meeting your needs for whatever the reason or not giving you the respect that you deserve, you need to look for another one. And one of the things that most people don't know, and if you're breaking up with an advisor, you don't need to tell that advisor. If you find another advisor, the new advisor handles the breakup for you. So that does make it, you know, a little easier. But, you know, I think once you've expressed what you want to get from them, and you're not getting that from them, and you've done it a few times, it may be time to move on.
All right, thanks, Mary. Our next question?
My question is for Lindsay. I have many friends that are new Americans, the immigrant young moms from Asia. So these Asian Americans are facing a lot of racist, misogynistic comments at workplace. And many of them are very talented, but they're afraid to start their own business or even go to work because of these constant harassments at work. As a woman of color, how did you embrace it, and how are you embracing these comments at workplace? And what is your message for these women that want to have more chances in their lives?
Great question. And these are the questions I will say that I love and I live for. I have to decide for myself that I will not be limited by anything. And that includes sexism and racism. Doesn't mean I don't experience it, and it doesn't mean it doesn't come my way. But in my decision and in my confidence in who I am as a woman, and my confidence in the purpose that I have, I've decided that all of those jabs and those arrows that are thrown at me will not define me. I am not defined by those external experiences, nor will I allow anyone to bully or to define me by them. That's my choice. And it's a choice that I've had to make over the years, having to fight against the odds of what I look like, how I speak, how tall I am, what my hairstyle may be one day, and maybe the next day it'll be different because I like to change things up. So all of those things I've put all those things together to help me understand that I am not defined by that at all. Doesn't mean it won't happen, but in my decision I just want to be very clear in my decision that I'm not defined by it. I do not walk around expecting it. I don't look for it. I don't seek it out. And that works. It helps because what I'm expecting on my insides, I'm attracting to me. So fear would say, be worried about it, try to find ways to hide from it. Well, let's just only do so much, therefore I won't be in the limelight. No. It's got to be the opposite for me. I expect to do well. I expect to be respected. And so when those things do happen, it's no longer the norm for me in my heart and my expectations and the confidence of who I am. It's just something that maybe somebody else tried to throw my way, but it's not going to define me or impact me. There are so many other women who have had to overcome so many obstacles, and whether it's color, whether it's race, whether it's how you speak, where you come from, it all boils down to the same thing. Either we allow ourselves to be defined by that or we don't. When we choose not to, then we get an opportunity to understand who we are and walk in that confidence and succeed. So I would encourage you to share that with your friends, with everyone that you know. It's possible, and it's an internal decision.
Beautiful answer. Thank you very much, Lindsay. We have time, about a minute, for one more quick question.
This question is for Mary, and it's for women of a certain age who think, well, I've made all these mistakes, and it's just too late for me. There's no, I'm stuck with what I've got. Is there a plan that women of a certain age can enact that will kind of save their lives when they think they're in trouble?
Well, I think there's a plan that can make your life better. There always is, because you're still going to need money from now until the time you're not around here anymore. So you still always want to make the best of whatever situation that you have, and you should never think it's too late, or I've done these errors and I can't come back from it. You always can. You can always make better decisions starting right now, starting today.
Well, ladies, thank you so very much. It was a really awesome discussion and a lot to think about, and we could go on and on, I'm sure. Thank you so much.
To continue the conversation, you can go to our website, thewisdomcoalition.com, and leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Go out and spread some joy today.
This special program has been brought to you by Evans Wealth Strategies in Emmaus, working to bring you financial happiness.